today is a significant day in the history of the United States, in the history of Georgia, and in the history of Macon, particularly the history of Macon, because the day is significant because it marks the day, December the 10th, that the legendary Otis Redding died in a tragic plane accident. And in observance of today, and in observance of his legacy, and in observance of how he still lives in Macon, Georgia through his foundation and his family, then we're interviewing his daughter in the person of Miss Karla Redding Andrews. Now sometimes I just say Redding, but she is married. So we don't want to make an old boy mad.
Absolutely not. But I'll always be a Redding.
Yeah,
you may not always want me to be an Andrews.
I understand that. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and as I mentioned, I'm interviewing Miss Karla Redding Andrews today, and we want to just have a fireside chat with Neil Chimney to discuss the goings on with the Otis Redding Foundation, the Redding family, the Redding projects, and the Redding initiatives, and the Redding history. But as we began our conversation today, she did mention that today is significant because this is the day, December the 10th, that he was killed in that tragic plane accident. And and I didn't realize that he was only 26.
Yes, 26 years old when he passed. I mean, to me, and just and I'm a little biased being his daughter, but he looked older to me always.
Well, he did. He did.
He was only and he was just so mature for his age, but he was only 26 years old when he passed. My mom was 24, left with 3 babies and a legacy of Otis Redding, a ranch, and lots of stuff to absorb in the midst of the plane crash. And
a lot of stuff to handle.
A lot of stuff to handle moving forward. Yeah. And, it's amazing with a person that has a legacy like my father. You think that sometimes things slow down. But Otis Redding's legacy never slows down. It lives forever. Even today, she and I are heavily involved in every aspect of his music catalog, and every aspect of his image and likeness, and we're honored to be able to carry on that legacy because he certainly left a rich one.
Yeah, and I'm honored to be able to interview you, his daughter, and I, of course, have known you for years. Otis is from Kendall Heights.
That's right.
Like I am.
Absolutely.
And
was always proud to be in Kendall Heights.
I am too. He lived in the project.
That's right.
Right behind me. I grew up in 81C, but I'll tell this story quickly because I want to talk about the foundation. But we used to jump the fence at Porter Stadium because we didn't have the money to pay for the football game. When Bella Hustle was playing whomever.
Yes.
And so, the way Porter Stadium was built, you could go under the stadium, way down under the stadium. And, Otis, being one of my neighbors, he used to be under there. Now, this was before he had any kind of notoriety, just singing his heart out. I remember that to the day, so it was inbred in him.
Yeah.
And he was destined to be.
He was destined for greatness. Because he had a passion to become a star.
Right.
That's what my uncle, my aunts have always told me, that he was singing all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. And, he knew that he would be great. And I think sometimes it's instilled in people a passion to do as much as they can because you never know when it's going to happen.
Right.
And for all of the things that he accomplished in 6 short years, for a legacy to last for 44 years.
Right. And to have that many hits, it's phenomenal. So we acknowledge Otis in memory of him, today and on this show, and I'm sure that, I would encourage everybody, just as a gesture of our appreciation for him, to go to the website.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's information.
Absolutely.
OtisRedding.com.
OtisRedding.com.
Yeah.
That's where all the information is. And today we, of course, have a special post on all of our social mediums in honor of him today. So take a minute to do that, and I appreciate you mentioning that, because that's really important to us.
Yeah.
That is how we keep his legacy alive, as well as go into the details about the foundation, the Otis Redding Foundation, which we're in our 9th year of celebrating his legacy in that way. So it'd be great to go to otisredding.com and click that foundation button, learn about all the things that you and I are going to talk about that we do.
Well, let's just talk about them now. Let's talk about, we mentioned the legacy, let's talk about the continuation that is developed through the initiatives of the foundation, and let's talk about, you know, what the foundation does, its mission, its successes, and its future, and where you're going with it.
Well, our motto has always been progress through education, enlightenment through music.
Right.
Even before Otis Redding became as huge as he was always being very philanthropic. And education, continuing education was a key component of that. He was given scholarships when he didn't even have enough money to provide opportunities for people to go to continue their education. So that is what we do with the foundation. We provide scholarships. We do a summer camp every June, which has turned into last year was a 2-week program. This year we'll be coming up to a month-long program. And it's the whole month of June we'll be doing this Otis Redding Singer-Songwriter Camp. As well as we partner with other organizations such as Mercer University and Robert McDuffie, the McDuffie School of Strings. We're starting a strings program. We hope, we know we're starting a strings program in 2015, that we will go in and teach the young people the importance of education paired with using strings.
Okay, now, what do these camps involve?
The camp is very intensive. We teach every aspect of the music industry. They sing, record, write, produce, write a video to a song all during that whole time of the camp. And it's not necessarily you have to be musically inclined. You can just be a poet and come in and write a song for someone else to perform that song. You can just choose to be a producer and you produce the song. You can be a videographer and you shoot the music video for a song. So it's an intense 4-week program on every aspect of the music business, including entertainment law.
Right. That's so phenomenal. Now, how many? I know you probably have thousands who want to be in the camp, but I know you can't accommodate.
We can't accommodate all.
But how many?
The maximum amount of kids that we've been taking is 50. And hopefully one day we'll be able to open our Otis Redding Music Academy of the Arts and be able to extend that number to hundreds of kids that we'll be able to service. We are in the process of putting together a program for the Otis Redding Music Academy downtown. So listen out for that.
So you're looking for a facility?
Absolutely looking for a facility. What we want to do is have a full-fledged year-round music program for kids, 13 to 17. Have a place for them to go and be a part of the other musicians who are talented musicians who are in the city and looking for opportunities to teach these kids. So they come to our academy and team up with these local musicians and learn every aspect of music.
Well, that's phenomenal. Now, how long has the foundation? You said 9 years?
9 years we've been doing it. Actually, you know, my mom, Zelma, had always had an Otis Redding fund. So, you know, scholarships and support of other music entities has always been in her background. But in terms of organizing a full-fledged foundation, we've been doing it 9 years. You know, our biggest success story is Roderick Cox, who is now an orchestra conductor, who made his guest.
He was at
the Opera House, and he did his guest homecoming concert with the symphony. And we supported Roderick all through his continuing education to become an orchestra conductor. So he is like our biggest poster child. We've got two. We're lucky to have two graduates last year who were in the music program at Middle Tennessee State. We have a young jazz pianist who we hope will enroll in Berkeley next fall, Berkeley School of Music next fall.
So. That is so phenomenal. So basically, that's the primary initiative of the foundation, Do you involve yourself in other activities or programs?
We do. You know, we like I said, we partner with Mercer. We also work with the Macon Symphony Orchestra. We are big in the community in terms of what we can do to enhance young people and give them, allow them to set goals and aspirations for themselves. It doesn't even have to be about music, but it's all about how to better yourself.
Right. That is so phenomenal, and that is so outstanding. You know, the thing that I think is worthy of mentioning, Otis was not just a local artist, a state artist, or a national artist. He was a universal artist. Talk about his, you know, how attractive he was, you know, in places other than America.
Absolutely. You know, even today we still get fan mail from Spain, and if you go to the website today, you'll see all the postings from people around the world who just still adore Otis Redding. You know, it's amazing how the legacy carries internationally, and they teach their young kids this is what real music is. They teach them about Otis Redding. So, you know, I just never see him ever being dissolved from the world, because he left such an impact on so many people.
And such a legacy. And I think it's worthy of mention that, you know, his fame and his music and his involvement also contribute significantly to Macon, Georgia.
Absolutely.
You know, so.
Well, and I also want to say it contributes significantly to Gray, Georgia, which is the area in which we live. And oddly enough, Gray will unveil a memorial marker in his honor in February, coming February, for Black History Month. And that'll be the first accolade that we've ever had in the actual town where we live.
That's okay.
And where he actually walked every day doing business, you know, for the farm. And so that'll be something nice to look forward to have something in February.
I think we need to give a shout out to your brothers. You know, it was 3 of you.
Absolutely.
And I understand that I'm the only one allowed to call him Lil Otis. You know, everybody else, he makes them call him Otis Jr. But I understand he's involved in music.
We are all involved in the foundation. Dexter comes in and stays the whole week of camp, as well as Otis is involved in the day-to-day activities of the foundation. So we're all involved, and we all have our own space and own talents of what we contribute to the foundation. So I'm lucky that we are a very close-knit family, to where all of us are in agreement that our whole day-to-day life and how we exist is an exact reflection on who Otis Redding was.
Suppose someone wants to, is there a way to support the foundation online?
Absolutely. There's a donate button right on the otisredding.com website. And all you have to do is click the foundation tab, and there's a donate button right there. And we are lucky to have so much support, particularly here in this community. You know, Mercer University, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, you know, Allen Peak, all of these organizations who really appreciate everything that we do through the foundation, and they support us.
And I appreciate it too, and I appreciate what you all are doing. Is there any other, do you sell memorabilia or anything of that nature at the foundation?
We do at the foundation offices. We have t-shirts that are designed exclusively for the foundation, and all of those proceeds, of course, benefit the programs. We do have CDs, we have memorabilia, and all sorts of artifacts that you can come in and purchase at the foundation.
Well,
it's a tribute to Otis Redding.
Let me just congratulate you, and of course Zelma, your mother, Otis's wife, and Lil Otis and Dexter on the road that you know, oftentimes, let's just be honest, legacy and income from legacy are wasted. You know, they are not kept and they are not maintained. So that ain't automatic. That the foundation exists, the family still exists, and you all are tight, and that you're moving his legacy and his talents forward. So I just want to thank you. Give us that website again.
www.otisredding.com, and go to the foundation tab.
Okay, and then what about a phone, just in case somebody...
A phone number to call and inquire about the camp and get more information about the camp, which is coming up June 2015, 478-742-5737.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Havisham, having an interview Miss Karla Andrews, talking about the Otis Redding Foundation and the legacy. And the member.
I've got dreams to remember.
This is Frankie Beverly of Mays.
Headliner Live presents It's the Ultimate Pre-Valentine's Day Celebration with Mays featuring Frankie Beverly.
You made me happy.
It's Mays featuring Frankie Beverly live in concert
You can dance.
at the Macon Cineplex Coliseum.
You stood right beside me.
It's Saturday, February 7th. Make plans and come see the iconic Mays featuring Frankie Beverly.
Come share some happy feelings with us.
Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or call 800-745-3000 or go by Habersham Records. Saturday, February 7th is the ultimate pre-Valentine celebration with Mays featuring Frankie Beverly.
We'd love to see you there, yeah.
It's Saturday, February 7th at the Macon Cineplex Coliseum, Macon, Georgia. For more information, go to MaconCineplex.com.
There's an old expression that says, by their fruits ye shall know them. And I think that's particularly significant in every walk of life, because essentially says that one is judged and evaluated by what he or she does. So if in fact one wants to be viewed positively, then they have to do positive things, you know, or if one does things negatively, then the fruits is negative. But I'm happy to report today and to be in a position to interview a young man, you know, who I know has a history, not only in Macon, but in other places that he's been, of growing good fruit. But we want to talk about the fruits that he has grown in Macon, Georgia, spiritually and religiously and in other significant areas. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, interviewing Dr. Maurice Watson, who currently serves as the pastor of Beulahland Baptist Church, Beulahland, let me pronounce it correctly. And unfortunately, I guess fortunate for him, but for the community maybe, you know, he's leaving us. You know, going to Washington, you know, to pastor another church. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I thought it would be improper, personally, to let him leave this community without having the opportunity for him, giving him the opportunity to make some expressions to the community about his tenure here, and to also tout, you know, what he has done in this community in a positive manner to help the community grow. Well, let's talk a little bit about, let's give a little historical background on yourself.
Well, I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, seventh of 8 children. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior at 14. I started preaching at 16. I began pastoring my first church, St. Mark Baptist Church in Little Rock, at 21. I was called to my second church, Salem Baptist Church in Omaha, Nebraska, at the age of 28. I stayed there 15 years, and then came here 10 years ago to take over the Beulahland Bible Church here in Macon, Georgia.
Right. Well, congratulations. And what kind of experiences have you had at Beulahland? I know that there are several initiatives that were accomplished under your pastoral leadership. You know, talk about those things. You're coming to town and how it has grown and how, whether or not the people have been receptive, and I know they have, but just talk about your experience at Beulahland.
Well, first of all, I want to say to the Macon and Middle Georgia community, I want to thank you for 10 of the best years of my life and the life of my family. The people of Middle Georgia are some of the best people you will ever meet in the world, and I want to express that generally to the community. But then I want to say that the 10 years that I've had at Beulahland Bible Church has just been wonderful. God has blessed us to grow. by the thousands. Thousands of people have joined our church. We have a church now of over 6,000 members.
Wow.
We know about the new buildings that God has blessed us to build, both here in Macon and in the greater Warren Robins vicinity. We are one church in 2 locations, so we have 2 campuses. But beyond the buildings and all of those things, which are nice, the greater accomplishments that I see since I've been here have been the changes that I've seen in the lives of people. People who were strung out, people who were down on their luck, who came to know the Lord as their Savior, and now their lives are turned around. You can't put a price on that.
Yeah, you really can't. And talk specifically about some of the programs at Beulahland under your pastoral leadership.
Well, we have several ministries, whether it's a prison ministry or nursing home ministry. We have a wonderful ministry to our youth and children that is led by Minister Treon Woolfork, who is our full-time youth pastor. Women's ministry, men's ministry, you name it, a marriage and family ministry. So what we try to do is have be a church that ministers to the entire family,
Right.
from the youth to the seniors.
Yeah.
And so that's some of the things that we've been able to
Yeah.
do.
Talk a little bit about the circumstances, because I think that's important. You know, in a small town, you know, people, you know, pull things from the air as it relates to what contributes to anything in this community, because you got a lot of naysayers and frankly a lot of haters. But talk about, you know, the move and your decision to go ahead and move forward, you know. I mean, there's no better source than the source.
Yes. Well, I was called by the Metropolitan Baptist Church of Washington, D.C. Metropolitan is a very historic church, 150-year-old church, just celebrated that 150-year-old 50th year as a church, started by former slaves.
Wow.
There in D.C., has a rich history, and I will be the 6th pastor in 150 years there at Metropolitan. But the reason I am leaving is simply because I sense that this is what God wants me to do. It's a smaller church than Beulahland. It's a church that has hit some hard times financially with a failed business, or rather building program, where they were going to build a multi-million-dollar facility that ran into the recession and all of the other things in the economy, and they lost their building. So it's a church that's in distress, and they're calling for help. And after prayer and seeking the Lord, I sense that God is saying, I want you to go and help to revive and help to restore, if possible, this wonderful church. And so that's the reason why I'm leaving. It's a God thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for more money or anything like that. It's because I sense that this is what God is telling me to do.
Yeah. So have you been up there? And I'm sure that you've met the people. And
yeah.
Talk a little bit about, you know, how you plan to make a difference at that church. And I mean, I know that you have divine inspiration and divine assistance. So you could tell I'm just going to follow the lead. Yeah. But, you know, be a little human and talk about what you plan to do up there.
Well, you know, I'm going into a situation where there's no guarantee for success. But I'm going to go trusting God, that God's going to be with us, and that God's going to lead us in terms of how to turn the church around. As I told them, I can't make you any promises, but I can promise you this, that I'll work as hard as I can every day to be the best pastor that I can be, the best leader I can be in this critical and crucial time in the history of the church. One of the things I want to do when I go there is listen to the people. You know, I don't want to go there and say, I have all the ideas, but I want to hear from them. What they have to say, how they are thinking, what their needs are. Good leaders are people who listen.
Yes, sir.
And you lead not by commanding people or driving people, but by influencing them to want to follow. And so that's kind of the approach I'm going to take when I go there, and let them know that this is something that I can't do by myself. It's going to take all of us working together, praying together, pulling together if we're going to get ourselves back on our feet and become the church that God wants us to be.
Well, I'm sure, that it's a strong indication that you're being led spiritually,
Yes, sir.
To move from the comfortable situation
Yes.
at Beulahland, because I've been up in your suite, don't
Yes.
So it's comfort, so I'm sure that contributes to the motivation that you want to follow a spiritual lead.
Yes.
Incidentally, how have the people accepted those 6,000 plus individuals who are members? Because I sense that obviously, they love you.
Yes, they do.
Obviously they love you, and obviously you must have been doing something right, to just attract people the way that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when a family member leaves, or when a family head leaves for whatever reason, then I'm sure that there are various reactions. So talk about that.
Well, naturally, it's been bittersweet. Just like I told them 10 years ago, I had to tell a church in Omaha, Nebraska, that had 4,000 members, that God was leading me to go to Macon, Georgia, to pastor a church, that I had to be obedient to God's voice then, and now I have to be obedient to God's voice again. And the people, while of course they didn't want me to leave, they understand that if this is what God is telling you to do, you have to follow the Lord. And but the good news is this: God has blessed us. Beulahland called a pastor this past Sunday.
Oh,
so
wow.
we have a brand new pastor already ready that's coming in to follow me, Pastor Karla Kelly, pastor of the New Hope Baptist Church in North Little Rock, Arkansas. He's a young 40-year-old young pastor, wife and children, and a great preacher, great leader. And so Beulahland is going to be in good hands.
Right.
And so I just want to let the community know that our next pastor has already been selected.
Right. Well, I want to thank you, publicly, for what Beulahland has meant to this community under your leadership. I want to thank you individually.
Thank you.
For Beulahland's support of the Macon, Middle Georgia Black Pages.
Yes, sir.
And you've been in the publication ever since you've been there. And I've enjoyed working with you. And
Thank you.
of course, Miss Bernice, we better call her name or she'll be fussing at you and me as it relates to the business of the church. And I'm going to give you another minute to make an expression to the Macon community and your parishioners as it relates to your living, your goodbye statement.
Well, again, I want to say to the Beulahland Bible Church and to all of the citizens of Macon and Middle Georgia, what an absolute honor it has been to serve in this community. And I want to thank you for all of your acts and words of kindness that you've extended to me and my family.
This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Dr. Maurice Watson.
Hi, this is Frankie Beverly of Maine.
Headliner Live presents It's the Ultimate Pre-Valentine's Day Celebration with Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
You made me happy.
It's Maze featuring Frankie Beverly live in concert
You can dance.
at the Macon Cineplex Coliseum.